All right, we're back with another interesting interview asking interesting questions to interesting people who are interesting astrologers, right? This is like the fifth or something in the series. Today I'm going to interview Nicole Brenny, who definitely is an interesting person and an interesting astrologer. Nicole, thank you for coming and agreeing to do this.
Thank you for having me, and thanks for coming on to my channel a long time ago. That was a really fun time.
Yeah, I was actually just thinking about that when I was walking up the steps here to my little recording room. I was thinking, I remember the last time I talked to Nicole, and then I remember the Vedic astrology super fans. The comments on the video was that Victor Kara was defeated by a little girl.
Oh my God, I don't
Remember that?
remember that.
Yeah, I think
No,
I'll never
but
forget that.
um, that was a time on my channel where I was getting a lot of crazy comments.
Me
There was
too.
like a few months where it was like the craziest comments of all time. But for those of you that didn't know this, Vic and I climbed a mountain together. Or I don't know, could you call it a mountain? We climbed to the top of a summit together.
Yeah, for us, that was a mountain.
Yeah,
That was awesome. That was a lot of fun. All right, you
it
know what?
really was.
I don't have the right questions up. Let me find them.
Okay,
But
take your time.
I know that the first question is always, tell us about the kind of astrology that you do.
Okay, and Vic sent me all these questions in advance, and I didn't plan my answers because I think that's not as fun. And
Yeah.
then I'll sound like I'm reading off of a, teleprompter. What type of astrology do I do? Well, I began studying sidereal, but now I am a tropical astrologer using Vedic principles, and I'm very highly influenced by Western astrology. So I do look at Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto. I look at things like Chiron, and anytime I'm learning about a new fixed star or things like that, I apply it. Whatever is interesting, whatever works, I'll use it, and I'm very open-minded in my astrology.
Well, that's absolutely crazy. How can you do Vedic astrology and tropical at the same time?
Well, we're not going to answer that question, but it's something that I just see that works, and so that's why I do it. And I've spent many agonizing months thinking about if I should do sidereal or tropical, and eventually I just chose one path, and I'm super happy with it because I really love the approach that Western astrologers take with just reading a chart and like using the psychology and the psychological perspective of the chart. And so for me, it works, and I feel like I can do better work for my clients using a bit of that Western perspective. And to use that Western perspective, I've got to use the tropical zodiac.
Okay,
So
cool. Maybe I'll
yeah, it
check it
works.
out too. Maybe I'll also look.
Yeah, I think you should switch to the tropical zodiac, Vic.
I may do that immediately following this interview. Hey, though, don't you do stuff with cards and other things like that?
Oh yeah, so okay, I don't just do astrology. Actually, I've been reading tarot cards since the age of 12. I verified this. I finally like looked back at my old journals and everything. It's been over 18 years of reading tarot cards, and I have always, ever since I began my business, I've always used astrology in conjunction with tarot. And then once I learned the cards of truth, which is reading playing cards, but it's a whole system. It's not that simple. There's like a whole system. It's like a mathematical thing. I started to apply the cards of truth as well. So I kind of use the cards of truth, tarot, and astrology all together. And I also am super interested in omens. So right now I live in Costa Rica and my office is outside. So I have two views of jungle. And so I actually quite easily can see omens for my clients as well. Omens meaning like signs from nature that are coming through for my clients that mean specific things related to my own inner symbolism, as well as the symbolism learned through astrology and the cards. So
Great.
I apply a lot of different things, but it's not like I'm trying to apply that stuff. It just kind of naturally progressed. And also all these systems really resonate with one another, and like they deepen my understanding of each other. So it's not like a stretch to do this. It's just like natural. And sometimes I can't help but use all of them at the same time because it's just happening, you know?
Right. What's the idea behind cards? Is it like they're a systematic omen, or it's like a rich omen or something?
Well, the cards from the from every single card in the deck is a description of a stage of nature. So it basically explains how nature works and how life works. And right now I've been working on writing to kind of like put that into words, exactly the different stages that it's representing. Ernst Wilhelm did a really good job of this, but I'm kind of taking it to, in a different, trying to explain it in a different way and taking it to a different level. But basically every single card will represent a stage in nature and kind of a stage in our own development. So for instance, we recently had an Ace of Spades day. The Ace of Spades is like, if it was an omen, it would be like a little seed in the ground trying to burst forth and grow into a tree. So it's like that first stage is the beginning. It would represent the beginning of something.
Okay.
Something like that.
I have a quick question. So when you say we had an Ace of Spades day, is that because you drew an Ace of Spades card, or is there actually like a day that's just like, this is an Ace of Spades day for anybody?
Exactly. It's the last thing that you said. So because it's a mathematical system that's also related to astrology, every single day of the year is ruled over by a card. So there's like a whole algorithm that does that. I honestly, like, the mathematical side of things is my weakness, so I'm not even going to try. I'd rather focus on my strengths, but every single day has a card related to it. So you can actually do like a forecast for every single day based off of the card of the day, which I do sometimes on my Instagram at @listentothestars_. Like once in a while, I'll be like, oh, it's a 4 of Spades day. This is what it means. This is how to maximize the energy. And it is a little bit generic, but every single person also has their own specific horoscope for every single day too. So we've got like the general energy, 1 card per day, but you can go more specific too.
Okay, thanks. I actually didn't know anything about the cards, but now maybe I know a little bit.
Well, they're life-changing. I thought they were so stupid when Ernst was like, Nicole, you really need to learn the cards of truth. And I was like, no thanks. It looks kind of boring. And there aren't as beautiful of pictures on these cards. It's like the most boring thing I ever saw in my life.
Yeah.
And then something happened in my personal life. I was going through a breakup, and he sent me a video from his Cards of Truth course about love, basically describing like the process of love in nature and how it works. And I watched that video, which was 1 hour long, and I was like crying, and I felt like a part of me had been healed just by watching this video, and everything made sense. And from that moment, literally from that moment until now, haven't stopped studying the cards, because it just literally is a symbolic and very logical explanation of how life works, and therefore how to how to basically manage your own life and use your own energy to be in line with nature. So you don't even have to like use it to like read the future. If you just understand what the cards mean, you can more easily have a happy life and live in tune with the natural rhythms of life itself.
Great. Okay, so now tell us, how did you wind up, or since 12 years old, you were doing tarot. How did you wind up with astrology, and how did it become like a profession?
So astrology was always one of those things, like I think many people in my generation had. We'd buy an issue of Teen Vogue, and we would all read our horoscopes at the back of the magazine. So it's always something that was super interesting for me. And having that like new age interest, I would always kind of look at astrology books when I would go to the new age shops. But it wasn't until I was, I think, 21 that I got gifted a book about astrology, and I started to use this astrology book to I don't know how to explain this, but I would date people, and then I would ask them for their birth date, and then I would just try to like scare them by knowing all these things about them that they never told me. So I was like practicing on people that I dated. And then when I moved to Montreal in 2013 was when I had like my first formal astrology reading, and I became kind of like a hobbyist with astrology after that. And then meeting Ernst Wilhelm was kind of the moment where like I thought, okay, maybe I should be incorporating astrology into, I was starting to read tarot cards like for money, and that's when I started thinking maybe I should start incorporating astrology into what I do, because it's just like another layer. So I wasn't ever trying to become an astrologer. I was just incorporating astrology into the work I was already doing with coaching and tarot, very informally. People would just come to me and say, hey, my friend knows that you read tarot. Can you read my tarot? And it just like evolved. I never really I always envisioned I would do something like this in my life, but I always envisioned I would do it like when I was 60 or 70.
Wow.
So it just kind of, I think Ernst Wilhelm, if or for those of you that don't know who he is, he's kind of like a person that revolutionized tropical Vedic astrology, because him and his wife created Kala Vedic astrology software, and he's a great teacher of all these things. But when I met him, I don't know, it just like kind of pushed me to do more astrology and incorporate it more, and kind of, I think he was even the one that pushed me to like do it professionally too. So that was the moment. But it came into my life organically. First reading in 2013, Montreal. Actually, none of the stuff that the guy told me came true.
Oh, really?
But no, it didn't. But, you know, the stuff about like the predictions were wrong, but the stuff about like myself was all true. So yeah, it just kind of, you know, I think a lot of people that are watching this can understand that like once that astrology bug bites you, it's like you can't stop.
Yeah. Okay, so now you're a practicing astrologer, and what are your favorite and least favorite things to deal with when people need your help?
Favorite thing is I really love helping people to gain a new perspective during a very difficult time in their life. So I think I've been through a lot of difficult times. Not like, I feel like I'm really lucky, but I feel like I've just been really emotional and had to do a lot of self-growth. So I really love helping people when they're just going through the hardest time ever to get some perspective and to keep moving forward. And I really love helping people with life purpose. So life purpose is something that I thought a lot about, and I have like a whole process that I take my clients through. And my life purpose is not me doing a reading and telling you that you're supposed to be a painter or an astrologer. When I talk about life purpose, I talk about something much bigger than all of that. And I help people to figure out their own inner symbolism and their own way of approaching their life purpose so that they can actually find success in anything that they do. So that to me is like, you know, something that I've been working on personally for like 10 years, developing a process to take people through and take myself through to figure that out. And it's fascinating and I love it. And my least favorite thing is I really dislike when people come to me and they're like, in which of these dates am I going to be rich? You know, when am I going to be rich and famous? Like that kind of a reading, I just don't really enjoy, because it's like, to me, those people are missing the point. Like you're missing the point of why we're here in a way. It's like, yes, we're supposed to, you know, fulfill our dharma, but sometimes I feel like those people are getting so tunnel visioned, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like I don't like to do the tunnel vision readings. It's like, I want to be able to give people perspective. I want a Jupiterian reading, you know, Jupiter, that broad view. And I don't like it when people make me fixate on something, because sometimes the thing that they're fixating on is not going to solve their problem. The thing that's going to solve their problem is way back here, you know?
Yeah. Yep. Okay, now I want to ask you, also being an astrologer, you do two things, in my experience. You do readings and you kind of hang out with other astrologers.
I only do those two things ever in my life.
Yeah. So what about the hanging out part? What about the culture of astrology, the current culture? What do you love about it, and what do you wish was different?
You know, you shouldn't be asking me this kind of question when K2 is like really close to my 11th cusp. Because my response to this question now is going to be totally different than it was a year ago and what it's going to be a year from now.
Yeah.
But okay, my favorite part is like meeting people like you. Like I always loved interacting with you on social media, and then like meeting you in Sedona. It's like that kind of a gathering where we actually get to be together, and I got to meet you and your energy in person, and just like hearing your voice and feeling your energy in real life was such a wonderful moment. Like it's just really fun to be able to interact with each other, and when we get to meet each other in real life, to realize that we're all just as amazing, if not more amazing in person than the internet. Those moments for me are so special. So we've had several gatherings at Ernst's place and all of that, and that stuff is just fun. And to like be able to relate not just about astrology but other things too is really cool. It's like you are interested in something, and not only are the other people that are interested in the same thing interesting because they love that same thing, but they're just great people. That to me is like a gold mine. But then, but
Yeah.
then,
Let's hear it.
now just remember, K2's on my 11th cusp. Ugh. I just feel like it's dog eat dog, you know, like people copy each other, people steal ideas. I've really put my trust in the wrong people in terms of collaborations or sharing ideas with people. And I feel like people are so desperate because it's a really hard time to be making money. This field gets more and more competitive all the time. And I always just wanted to create something for myself that was like sincere and authentic and honest. And sometimes I feel like that gets harder and harder to do because there's people that are just always like waiting around. Like I even had someone like try to sabotage interviews that I was being offered by emailing the people and just saying crazy stuff about me that wasn't true. So, you know, there's moments like this where I started doing what I do. Like I didn't even like think I was going to be a tarot card reader, astrologer. Just people wanted it from me and I got encouragement because I had the skills and it naturally happened. Like it was very natural. But I never told myself, oh, astrology would be a good way to make money. Like I thought astrology would be the worst possible way to make money in the entire world. So
Right.
I never came into it from that perspective. I came into it as like, I have something to share with the world. And so I do see people come into it from the perspective of, oh, I could make money off of this. And that's a hard energy for me to like shut out. And it's also a hard energy for me to feel really creative with. But I feel like with Rahu on my 5th cusp, I'm learning how to be creative and be authentic and let my light shine, even though I'm feeling, which is probably just in my head, kind of like this aggressiveness and like this, you know, do you know what I'm talking about?
I do. I do.
Yeah.
I completely.
So that's the problem with the community sometimes, I think. And I also think sometimes the community's like gets to be a little bit too exclusive when I feel like, and that's natural, it's going to happen, but I feel like the way forward for all of us is more inclusive. You know, we're doing this for others, not just for each other too.
Great.
Yeah.
Now I want to ask you some kind of less specific but more ideological or philosophical questions. Okay.
Great.
You ready for this?
Yes, I'm ready.
All right, great. So what about religion? Are you like a subscriber to any particular religion or like a philosophical school or anything like that? Would you call yourself an X?
Well, I grew up Catholic, very strict Catholic, went to Catholic school, had to go to church every Sunday. And I always believed in God. I still believe in God. But for me, God has always been like a very broad concept of something greater than myself. So, and that means greater than myself and everything else. So greater than astrology, greater than tarot. I would put my faith in God before tarot, astrology, anything like that. Like if someone said, okay, you either have to choose God or astrology, I would choose God. I would like, I believe God is way more powerful, whatever that concept of God is. And for me, God is not some guy with a beard in the sky. Like I said, it's like an energetic thing. And I don't know if I told this story on some other channel, but when I was a kid, I was going to Catholic school. I was going to church all the time, but I always found myself not agreeing with the priest when he would give his lectures. And I couldn't figure out why I wasn't agreeing with him. And I was always a very contemplative person. So I would always spend a lot of hours walking through the woods thinking and singing and drawing and things like this. And I remember one day I was walking through the woods when I was like 12 or 13, maybe even younger, but around that age. And I heard the priest say something during church, which I can't remember at this time, but I just didn't agree with it. And I was really frustrated. And it was I basically had this moment where I was wondering, why am I putting so much faith in what the priest is saying? And why do I have to go through a priest to have a relationship with God rather than having a relationship with God on my own? Why do I have to go to confess my sins to a man in a robe rather than be able to sit in the woods and have a conversation with God on my own? Why does this guy get to say that I'm forgiven and I don't get to have that conversation with God myself. Why don't we all get to have that relationship with God? So I was starting to have these like rebellious thoughts towards religion, actually to the point where I was getting an A+ in every single class, but like a D- in religion, because I was like literally rebelling. And your religion grade actually didn't count towards like the state. So I was like this award-winning student, but I was failing in religion. So then I had this conversation with myself. I remember it was like a very important moment in my life where I said to myself, Nicole, from this moment forward, you are only going to believe what you experience on your own. Because there were so many things that I experienced, heard, felt, saw that other people didn't hear, feel, see, or think. And I told myself, if I can't trust my own instrument, if I can't trust my own perception, I can't trust anything. But I have to be able to trust myself. If I'm going to make it through this life, I have to be able to trust myself. So from that moment forward, I still remember, I kind of adopted an empirical approach to my belief system. So I still have that approach with astrology, with tarot. I don't believe something until I experience it or feel it or see it myself. And so for me, that has brought a lot of wisdom into my life. It's brought a deeper relationship to God or the concept of God. And it's brought a lot more faith in the unknown. So that, I think, is kind of the explanation of my philosophy. Is very empirical. Like, I don't believe in astrological technique unless I see it work. I don't believe even what Ernst says about a card and the cards of truth system until I see it or feel it or can sense it in myself that it's true. So I'm very skeptical, incredibly skeptical, and that's about it.
Hey, can you tell us your like major details of your birth chart? Would you be willing to do that?
Yes, I've recently decided everyone can know my birth chart. I don't really care. So Aries rising, Sun in Cancer, and Moon in Taurus. Those are kind of the main points people ask for.
Yeah.
Yeah, Moon
What
and
about
Bar.
Mercury? Where's Mercury?
Mercury is with Venus in Gemini.
Uh,
Mercury is
cool.
actually the final dispositor of my whole chart. Yeah.
Great. All right. So now I want to ask you three follow-up questions. So as a result of your epiphany at the age of 12-ish, where you became the modern day empiricist, and then you started to gain wisdom from that. So I want to milk some of that out from you. Now I want to know three different topics. In your feeling and in your experience, what's the whole point of being here? What's the whole point of existence? Why do we wake up? Why do we exist? Why are we here? What should we be doing or concentrating on?
I like that question. And I saw that question you sent me and I was like, I should probably think about this answer, but I didn't. First off, the short answer is like, it doesn't matter. Like, and that's, I'm not trying to be like the devil's advocate, but in one way, like, it doesn't matter. Like, what we do doesn't matter in like a broader sense. But to like answer your question seriously, I think that in a certain way, like say that you could be perfect at astrology, you really, really figured it out. I think you'd be able to see that all of our life is scripted, all of our life is fated. On a certain level, like everything that we do, everything that we say, every person that we meet is probably decided for us. But I do believe that our whole purpose of being here, our whole purpose of life on earth is to have the experience and literally to just be here. Like, and that's why I'm saying like, it doesn't matter, because I have watched like hundreds of hours of videos of people that have gone through very traumatic situations where they came out of these situations with like no arms or legs or with partial brain damage or like losing every single person that they loved. And a lot of the times in those situations, people from the outside would ask these people like, well, wouldn't you want to die? Like if I was in that situation, I wouldn't want to be here. And every single person said, no, I feel grateful to just be here. I feel grateful to just be alive. I feel grateful to just take another breath. And so I think that the purpose of life is literally just to be here, literally just to experience this thing that we're experiencing. I think at the root of the answer to that question is literally just to experience life.
Hmm.
And then everything else on top of that is like an opportunity that we have. We have an opportunity for evolution. We have an opportunity to, for de-evolution, however you'd say that.
Right.
But the whole point of life is just to be alive. I really do feel that. And then everything else on top of that is like to kind of create and to become more conscious of everything that we actually experience, which is to gain even more of that experience of life itself. So that's why people kind of use that terminology, to be enlightened or to be woke. So to really be awake and in the moment and present to everything that we can experience. So almost like if the meaning of life is to eat a piece of cake or to taste cake, then, the true meaning of life is to eat the entire cake and to taste every single bite of the cake that you are tasting. Does that make sense?
Yeah, very, very much sense.
So like to really experience it all.
Yeah, I like it. I love it. But my mind just got off track because you said de-evolution, and then I thought of Devo, the band Devo.
Yes, I was thinking of, have you ever seen Super Mario Brothers, like the live action?
No.
Okay, they're changing these creatures, but there's like a de-evolution button or
Oh,
something.
really?
I don't know. I have to have my brother tell me, but I was thinking of that. But yeah, Devo's a great band.
Yeah. And I was going to say, weren't you do music too? You're a musician also, right?
Yes, but I haven't properly made music in several years, and I know that it's taking its toll on me, but I've been creative in other ways,
Great.
so I am a musician though. I make experimental electronic pop music.
How about the intro to your videos? Is that your stuff?
Yes, all the music that you hear on my videos, including all of the tracks I use for my makeover videos, are all me, and a couple of them are like me co-producing a track with someone else.
Cool.
So,
Now, recently done or like from years ago?
from years ago, but I actually produced the track for my intro like a year ago or whatever.
Ah,
And sometimes I'm like piecing together little things, but I haven't like properly made an entire album in like 4 or 5 years, which I don't even want to say that out loud. It's way too long.
that's nothing.
That.
All right. So here's another question for you. Um, Tell us what you think is the difference between right and wrong.
Oh yeah, I have an answer to this. I thought about this. I've been thinking about this a great deal with Jupiter transiting my 9th house in Sagittarius. So this has been on my mind for a long time. Right and wrong is tricky because we all have a different sense of what is right and what is wrong. And I do not think that there is one universal law that can state this is right or this is wrong. And I think that that's a problem with religion. And I think it gets really scary when we start to place rules on right and wrong. For me, what is right and what is wrong is related to a person's nature. So that's why self-understanding is so important, and that's why things like astrology are so important. So what is right and wrong is really what is true to the nature of the person that you are. And we are all individuals. We are all completely different. Even twins are completely different. When we really look at it, we can see that in the divisional charts. So right is what is right and what allows what's expansive for a person. Right is what is expansive for a person. Wrong is what is destructive, So right is like what is creative, what is moving things forward. Right, wrong is what is destructive, what is against someone's nature. So right would be what is in line with your nature. Wrong is what is taking away from your nature. Does that make sense?
Yeah, very good. Okay, and then one more. Yeah, this is a good interview. I like this interview a lot. And it has a nice pace to it.
Yeah,
We
me
went
too.
at a nice pace, a good gallop.
Good.
All right, so the last question then for you, unless we want to just divert or talk about anything chit-chatty, but my last serious question is, what do you feel is the difference between men and women, or masculinity, femininity?
Oh, yeah, this question. Okay, I think that all men and women have the feminine and the masculine within themselves. So we all contain that energy. I think the question that gets contrived and gets worked in bad ways and good ways nowadays is thinking about the physicality of everything. So the feminine is going to be, I don't like to align the feminine with the moon, even though we do, and I'm kind of working on writing all these ideas down. But to me, the feminine is like the earth. Okay, so like the earth without the sun is just cold and dark and can't really grow anything. Yes, there is the fire within the earth, because the feminine is always going to contain the masculine, but the earth itself is like, without the sun, the earth is just cold and infertile and, you know, dark. So the earth itself is receptive, and it's almost dependent upon the light of the sun, just like snakes. Snakes are related to the feminine. Snakes can't create their own body heat, right? That's why serpents are always related to the feminine element. So femininity has a lot of attributes to it that are strictly feminine. So receptivity is one of them, like dependency in the sense of like, you know, needing the heat of the sun, all that kind of stuff. That's just an attribute of the feminine. Then we have the attributes of the masculine, which are like the sun. So attributes of the masculine are consistency. They're also giving, you know, all that kind of stuff. And I think it gets contrived because people forget that, yes, our bodies are either masculine or feminine, but inside we have both. So when we're talking about like gender and all of that, you know, your body is just going to be either one gender or the other, or you're going to be lucky and you're going to have both genders. And then you're just like really lucky. I think people that are transgender are lucky, honestly, but your body itself is going to have, you know, that charge. And when we think about the body, like you can't really dispute it. A woman, to experience orgasm and to experience her nature as someone that can procreate, needs to receive a man. You know, it's receptive. You can't deny that. A man, in order to procreate and to achieve orgasm and to have all the pleasure in the world, needs to be giving, right? So we can talk about it at different levels, but my idea of masculine and feminine is that they are on different levels. We can talk about it, but they are attributes, and we all have masculine and feminine qualities, but our bodies are one, unless we're lucky and we have both. And that we need both the masculine and the feminine. And my only problem right now with femininity is that it's really like hating the masculine. And I really think that in order for the world to be healthy, we need both. And if we can look at the macrocosm or the microcosm in the macrocosm, we can see how Earth itself, the feminine, has been abused and like literally raped and all this kind of stuff. So we see that there's this huge problem going on in our whole like broader picture of masculine and feminine. And I wish I could be way more eloquent about this, but these are some ideas that I'm still working through to like speak about clearly. So I think I'm just going to stop talking.
No, it was great.
I think I'm going to stop talking, but you have to just understand that there's many layers to this question. So I approached it from astrology, physicality, and all of that. But
how would you identify masculine and feminine indicators amongst the planets?
There are actually like traditional alignments with all of that. Like they say Saturn and Mercury are like, you could say transgender. Venus and Moon are feminine. Sun, Mars are masculine, and Jupiter is masculine as well. So I think those are all accurate that I've seen kind of showing up with people when they're like talking about gender identity and all of that. Seems very accurate. And you can watch my makeover videos to kind of see how I bring in some of those elements as well.
Great. Yes, yeah. I agree. I totally agree with that.
Yeah, I like the way that they've kind of aligned that. But again, to me, it's like the attributes of the feminine, the attributes of the masculine. I also think like if you're a woman and you have a female body, you don't need to be, okay, let me actually say something about this.
Okay.
Masculine and feminine has nothing to do with the societal ideas of what it means to be a man or a woman. That's like my final answer to that question. Like when we talk about being a woman, that doesn't mean having long hair and wearing makeup and wearing dresses. When we talk about masculine, that has nothing to do with wearing a suit and working a job to provide for your family. That's a totally different thing. And I think that because people have those two ideas wrapped up into one is why we're having a lot of people confused about what their gender is and all that kind of stuff. and not just appreciating the complexity of it all, because we all have masculine, we all have feminine. I feel totally masculine sometimes, and I just embrace it. I think we all need to find that like yin and yang within ourselves. And I think that's where the power comes from. That's like a spiritual principle. That's where you find the most self-knowledge, you know? So,
Yeah. Great.
yeah.
Nicole, thank you for this excellent interview.
Thank you for having me and pushing my brain a little bit.
Once again, you defeated me.
Defeated you how?
I don't know, but I don't know how that happened last time either.
No, I think we didn't agree on something. I'm remembering now. I think we didn't agree on something. I think I remember what it was, so I won't bring it up.
Bring it up.
We didn't agree. I was saying I believe that, I don't know if this is exact, but I think I was saying I believe that we all have all the wisdom of the universe within ourselves. And I think you disagreed with that point that I was making.
I probably was just too technical about it.
I think so.
Yeah, I don't necessarily disagree with it.
Well, there, we cleared it.
Yeah.
So,
all right, Nicole, so thanks so much. I look forward to seeing you again sometime.
yes, I do as well. Have a wonderful night. And yeah, it'll be nice to see you in the future in real life.
Yeah, enjoy the waves.
Yes, I will. I injured my shoulder 2 days ago, but I'm hoping it'll heal up fast because I'm getting very sad without surfing, even though it's only
your
been...
shoulder while surfing?
Well, this is what happened. I have been surfing like 3 to 6 hours a day. I've been going crazy with it, and I haven't been stretching the best. And so yesterday I was using a board that I don't normally use, and so I decided to stretch a lot before I went out. And I think, you know, when you get a massage and how like when they really work you, you get really sore afterwards.
Yeah.
I think when I really stretched myself out, that I released a lot of old tension from like just 2 months of surfing for too many hours a day. And so I think what's happening is just kind of like stuff clearing out, and I should have just been less crazy with surfing. And it's probably my shoulder and arms being like, okay, you need to take a break. So I think I'll be fine. It's just, yeah.
Do you have any more makeover videos left, or have you done all the planets already?
I have Mercury, K2, Jupiter, and the moon. So I have 4 left, and I'm so excited about every single one of them. I think I might be doing Mercury next because I'm giving out too much information, but I think it's because I want to dye my hair blonde. And so Mercury has dark hair, and then K2, moon, and Jupiter could all kind of use some blonde hair. Like I could use the blonde hair in a more creative way. So I think Mercury will be next, and that one's going to be super, like, no pun intended, but Mercury is going to be fun.
Great. Okay.
I think.
I'm looking forward to seeing those.
Yeah. Well, what time is it there?
It's 10:40 a.m.
Okay. Yeah, it's nighttime here. So I'm going to go eat dinner.
Okay.
Thank you so much. And yeah, I'll have to have you back on my channel again as well coming up.
Okay. Thank you. Please.
All right. I'll see you
Bye-bye.
later. Bye.